Andrew saw a helpless German Shepherd puppy when he was returning from the office on a winter night. He couldn't think of abandoning the shivering puppy and decided to help it, nurse it back to health, and provide it shelter. But as months passed, that tiny puppy grew into something he never imagined. What he was raising wasn't even a dog, let alone a German Shepherd. What will his family do? And what happens when the authorities find out? Before we dive into this amazing story of rescue and bond, I'd like you to help me raise awareness about animals in need by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Now, let's get into the story. The icy wind cut through Andrew's coat as he walked to his car after a long day at the office. The streets were quiet, the kind of quiet that only comes on freezing winter nights. His breath formed little clouds in the air as he fumbled with his keys. That's when he heard it, a faint, whimpering sound. He paused, scanning the dimly lit street. There, huddled under a broken street lamp, was a small, shivering puppy. Its fur was matted and its ribs were visible even from a distance. Andrew's heart sank. He couldn't just leave it there. He approached slowly, not wanting to scare the poor thing. The puppy looked up at him with wide, fearful eyes, but it didn't move. Andrew knelt down, shrugging off his scarf to wrap around the trembling animal. "Hey there, little guy," he said softly, scooping it up. The puppy let out a weak whimper, but didn't resist. Andrew carried it to his car, turning up the heat as high as it would go. At home, Andrew's wife, Clara, was less than thrilled. "Another stray?" she asked, hands on her hips. But her stern expression softened when she saw the puppy's condition. Together, they dried it off, fed it warm milk, and made a cozy bed by the fireplace. They named it Max, and over the next few weeks, Andrew and Clara nursed it back to health. Max grew stronger, his fur becoming soft and shiny, and his playful personality began to shine through. But as the months passed, Andrew started to notice things that didn't add up. Max didn't bark like a normal dog. Instead, he made strange chirping sounds. He was incredibly agile, leaping onto furniture with ease, and he had an uncanny ability to disappear into the shadows. Clara joked that Max was part cat, but Andrew couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One evening, Andrew came home to find Max perched on the kitchen counter, his sharp eyes fixed on a bird outside the window. The way Max moved, fluid, almost predatory, was unlike any dog Andrew had ever seen. That night, Andrew sat down at his computer and began researching. He typed in Max's behaviors: chirping sounds, nocturnal habits, aversion to other dogs. The results made his stomach drop. Max wasn't a German Shepherd. He wasn't even a dog. He was a fox. Andrew's mind raced. Keeping a fox as a pet was illegal in their state, and if the authorities found out, Max would be taken away. But Max wasn't just a wild animal. He was family. Andrew couldn't imagine life without him. He decided to fight for Max, applying for a special permit that would allow him to keep the fox legally. The process was grueling. Andrew gathered evidence, from veterinary records to testimonials from friends and neighbors, proving that Max was too domesticated to survive in the wild. He worked tirelessly, building an outdoor enclosure that met the strict requirements set by the Wildlife Department. Every step of the way, Max was by his side, chirping softly as if to remind Andrew why this fight was worth it. Finally, the day came when Andrew received the official letter. His hands trembled as he opened it, his heart pounding. The word "approved" leaped off the page, and Andrew felt a wave of relief wash over him. Max could stay. Life settled into a new rhythm. Max thrived in his outdoor enclosure, but he always returned to Andrew's side, choosing the comfort of their home over the call of the wild. One night, as Andrew sat on the porch with Max curled up beside him, he realized how much his life had changed. Max wasn't just a pet. He was a reminder of the unexpected ways life could surprise you. As the seasons changed, so did Max. His reddish fur grew thicker, and his movements became even more graceful. Andrew often found himself marveling at the fox's intelligence and adaptability. Max had learned to open doors, solve simple puzzles, and even mimic some of Andrew's habits. It was as if Max was constantly reminding Andrew that he was no ordinary pet. One crisp autumn evening, Andrew and Clara decided to take Max for a walk in the nearby woods. They had grown more comfortable with his unique nature and trusted him to stay close. As they walked, Max darted ahead, his nose twitching as he explored the forest floor. Suddenly he stopped, his ears perking up. Andrew and Clara froze, watching as Max crouched low, his body tense. A moment later he pounced, catching a small rodent with precision. Clara gasped, but Andrew couldn't help but smile. "He's just following his instincts," he said, though he knew Clara was still adjusting to Max's wild side. They continued their walk, Max trotting ahead with a newfound confidence. It was clear that, despite his domestication, Max still carried the spirit of the wild within him. Back at home, Andrew and Clara sat by the fireplace, Max curled up at their feet. They talked about the future, about how they would continue to care for Max and ensure he had the best life possible. They knew there would be challenges, but they were determined to face them together. The next morning, Andrew received a call from the wildlife department. They wanted to conduct a routine check to ensure Max's enclosure met all the necessary requirements. Andrew felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach, but he reminded himself that they had done everything by the book. When the inspector arrived, Andrew and Clara showed him around, pointing out the various features of the enclosure designed to keep Max safe and comfortable. The inspector was thorough, asking questions and taking notes. Finally, he turned to Andrew and smiled. "You've done an excellent job," he said. "Max is clearly well cared for, and this enclosure is one of the best I've seen." Andrew felt a surge of relief and pride. They had passed the inspection, and Max could continue to live with them. As the days turned into weeks, Andrew and Clara settled into their new routine with Max. They took him on walks, played games with him, and even taught him a few tricks. Max, in turn, brought joy and laughter into their lives, his playful antics and affectionate nature endearing him to everyone he met. One evening, as Andrew sat on the porch with Max by his side, he reflected on their journey. From that cold winter night when he found Max shivering on the street, to the challenges they had faced together, it had been a journey of love, resilience, and discovery. Max had taught him that sometimes the most unexpected companions can bring the greatest joy. But life with Max wasn't without its challenges. One day, while Andrew was at work, Clara called him in a panic. "Max is gone," she cried. "I left the back door open for just a minute, and he disappeared." Andrew's heart sank. He rushed home, his mind racing with worry. They searched the neighborhood, calling Max's name, but there was no sign of him. As night fell, Andrew and Clara sat on the porch, feeling helpless. Just as they were about to give up, they heard a familiar chirping sound. They turned to see Max trotting up the driveway, his fur dirty but his eyes bright. He had a small rabbit in his mouth, which he dropped at Andrew's feet with a proud chirp. Clara gasped, but Andrew couldn't help but laugh. "He's just being a fox," he said, though he knew they would need to be more careful in the future. They cleaned Max up and made sure the back door was securely closed. From that day on, they were extra vigilant, ensuring Max couldn't escape again. Despite the occasional scare, life with Max was filled with joy. He had become a beloved member of the family, and even Clara had grown to love his quirky ways. They celebrated his birthday with a special treat, and Andrew often found himself marveling at how far they had come. One day, Andrew received a call from a local wildlife sanctuary. They had heard about Max and wanted to feature him in an educational program about foxes. Andrew was hesitant at first, but after discussing it with Clara, they decided it would be a great opportunity to raise awareness about the challenges of keeping wild animals as pets. The event was a success, and Max became a local celebrity. People came from far and wide to see the fox who had captured Andrew's heart. Max, ever the showman, charmed everyone he met with his playful antics and affectionate nature. As the years passed, Max grew older, but his spirit remained as vibrant as ever. Andrew and Clara cherished every moment with him, knowing that their time together was precious. They had faced countless challenges, but their bond with Max had only grown stronger. One winter evening, as Andrew sat by the fireplace with Max curled up at his feet, he reflected on their journey. From that cold winter night when he found Max shivering on the street to the challenges they had faced together, it had been a journey of love, resilience, and discovery. Max had taught him that sometimes the most unexpected companions can bring the greatest joy. The story of Andrew and Max is one of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between two unlikely companions. It's a testament to the lengths we'll go to protect those we care about, even when the odds are against us. And for Andrew, Max was more than just a fox. He was family.